Hi guys, so today we'll be discussing two questions. The second one is essentially the extension of the first one. I have noticed that if interviewer is asking you the first question, he is very likely to ask you the extension of it, which is our second question. And if you're dealing with the second question, then it is better to know the easier one. Let's get started. So what is the problem statement? You are given an array of distinct elements in the range 1 to n. You have to find the missing numbers. So in the easier question, you have only one missing number, and in the trickier question, you have two missing numbers. Let's see. So I have taken one example of both of them. In both the cases, n is 6. In the first one, as you can see, the numbers are ranging from 1 to 6, but the number 3 is missing. In the second one, the numbers 3 and 5 are missing. Like this, you can have any value of n, and we have to find out the missing numbers. Let's get started with the brute force solution. So we can just take a vector, an array or a hash map to store which all values are there and which all are not. How? Suppose I have an array of, say, I take of the length n, which is 6 in our case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And as I traverse through this array, I can just keep marking. Okay, 1 is there, okay, it is there. 2 is there, yes. So I can just have a boolean over here and keep marking. And then in the end, we can see which all are absent. So we can use this way for both the questions and do it. But in this case, we will be using order of n, time complexity as well as space complexity. We are going to be using extra space to store our array or hash map or vector. So this is not at all efficient. I am sure we can do better than this. Let's see how. Another approach to this question would be to use the formula of sum to n elements, which is n into n plus 1 by 2. This is the formula of sum of n elements ranging from 1 to n. I am sure you must have seen this formula in the arithmetic classes in school. Just rewind back to that. So now let's see how we can use this formula to solve both the questions. Let's get started with the easier one first. So how will we know the value of n first of all? Because this n is not given to us. Only thing that is given to us are the arrays. But the value of n should be very obvious. Why? Because the array in the easier question will be of size n minus 1. Why is that? Because the number of elements should have been n if all the elements were present. Since all the numbers are distinct and they range from 1 to n, and only one number is missing now, so the size of this array should be n minus 1. In the trickier question, the size of the array would be n minus 2. So we have the value of n in both the questions. So let's calculate that first. I have taken n equal to 6 for both the questions over here. So the sum will be 6 into 7 by 2, which is 21. So this would have been the sum if all the elements were present. But that is not the case. So now let's calculate the sum of the elements that we have, which will be, in our case, 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, which is 3 plus 4, 7 plus 5, 12 plus 6, 18. So this is the sum that should have been there, and this is the sum that is there. If we take the difference of these two, 21 minus 18, it gives us 3. And yeah, of course, that is the missing element that we wanted to know, right? This should be obvious since we know the sum that would be there if all the elements were present. And we know the sum that is there right now. We just have to iterate the array once and we came to know the present sum, right? Now if the difference will give us the number that is missing. So the easier question is done. But what about the trickier one over here? Now we have two numbers missing. So if we calculate the sum of these numbers, it will be 1 plus 2, 3 plus 4, 7 plus 6, 13. So now our sum is 13. If we take the difference of 21 and 13, we will get 8. What does this 8 represent? It represents the value of x plus y if x and y are the elements that are absent. But we cannot know which are the exact values that are missing. So from saying we know that yeah, 3 and 5 are missing, so the sum is 8. It makes sense. But exactly which values are missing, how can we find that code-wise? Let's see. We already have one equation. We just need one more equation to get the second value. How can we get that? One obvious solution that comes to our head will be to use multiplication, just how we used sum. How can we do that? we could have calculated the product that would have been there if all the elements were present. That is n factorial, 1 into 2 into 3 and so on up to n elements. And the product that is presently there. From both the things, if we divide both of them, we will get the value of x into y. And using these two equations, we can find the value of x and y. That is both the numbers that are missing. But we know that if the value of n is very large, it can lead to overflow. We will not be able to store the product in an integer value. So this is not an efficient solution. Let's see if we can do better than this. Let's try to solve the second question, that is two numbers missing, without using the multiplication. Let's see how. So right now we already have the value of x plus y, that is the sum of the numbers that are missing, which in this case is 8. Now, since we have the sum of the two numbers, we know the average of two numbers, which will be x plus y by 2. In this case, it is 4. We know that all the elements in our case, that is 1 to n, will be distinct, right? It is given to us. Also, the two numbers that are missing will also be distinct because the numbers should be from 1 to n and two numbers are missing. So we know that one number will be less than this average number and one value will be greater than this average number. I hope that makes sense because there are two numbers. If we take average of that, then one number will obviously be lesser than the average and one number will obviously be greater than the average. Now we have the average value. What we can do is traverse through the array and check for the sum of elements that are less than this average value and the sum of the elements that are greater than this average value. So we are dividing the question into two sub-problems now. Let's see, sum of all the elements that are lesser than 4 will be 1 plus 2, which is 3 in this case. And sum of all the elements which will be greater is 6 in this case. Now we can just calculate the differences and we will see that 3 and 5 are missing. Let's calculate what will be the sum of numbers which are less than 4. It will be 3 into 3 plus 1 by 2, which in our case will be 6. 6 minus the sum that we have, it is 3. We will get the number 3. Similarly, we can find the second number. I just noticed that the examples that I have taken are in sorting order, but in the question it is not given and we are not really using the sorted order in any case. We are just finding the sums till now. So yeah, this might not be sorted. It would have been 5, 1, 2, 4. I have just written it in this way to make it easier for you to understand. So we could find the answers. But again, if the value of n is very large, then even finding the sum can lead to overflow. So you are usually expected a better answer to these questions in an interview or in a competitive programming question. In our previous approach, we had already reduced the space complexity from order to n to order of 1. Since we were not storing any extra values, we were just calculating the sum. Our final solution will also have space complexity of order of 1 and time complexity of order of n. But we will be solving the overflow problem and we will be using the best solution of logical operations. Yes, we will be using the XOR operation to solve this question. I know the first reaction would have been, how the hell are we supposed to know that we have to use XOR? But trust me, this is the question which will get you started since we use a lot of basic concepts and this is a very important application of XOR. Here we will be using three important conclusions that we will get from the XOR table. First, let's see the table that we have. So we know that the XOR is given by x y bar plus y x bar and this is the table. So let's notice three properties of XOR. The first property is that the final answer is 1 only when the numbers are distinct. That is, if the numbers are both 0, the answer is 0. If the numbers are both 1, the answer is again 0. So when only both the numbers are distinct, the XOR value is 1. Okay, so that is the first observation that we have from this table. The second observation is any number XORed with itself will result to 0. Let's see over here, when 0 is XORed with 0, the answer is 0. When 1 is XORed with 1, the answer is again 0. So whenever a number is XORed with itself, the answer is 0. That is the second property that we are going to use. The third one is any number XORed with 0 results to the number itself. So let's see, when we XOR 0 with 0, it resulted to 0 itself. When we XORed 1 with 0, it resulted to the number itself, that is 1. So these three are very important properties that are used in a lot of questions, and we are also going to use. So what are we going to do is, we will XOR all of these numbers and XOR them again with all the numbers between 1 to n. Let me show you how. So XORing these numbers will look like this. 1 XOR 2, XOR 4, XOR 5, XOR 6. Now I am going to XOR this entire thing with all the numbers between 1 to 6, which will be XORing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we see this final result, what will it give us? Let's check. So 1 XOR 1, what will be the value? Any number XORed with itself results to 0. So we are going to use the second property over here. 1 XOR 1 will result to 0. 2 XOR 2 will again result to 0. Okay, 3 is not present. Let's skip that for now. 4 XOR 4 will be 0. 5 XOR 5 will be 0. 6 XOR 6 is 0. This will be present in the end. Only this will be left. Now if we use a third property that we had, any number XORed with 0 results to the number itself. So this will finally result in 3, which is essentially the number that was missing. When only one number is missing, all we have to do is XOR all the numbers in the array to all the numbers between 1 to n, and the answer will be the number that was missing. Let's see how we can use this to solve the trickier question. That is, when two numbers are missing. Similar to the previous question, if we XOR all the numbers in this case, what will be the answer? So we are XORing 1, 2, 4, 6 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in this case, the answer will be 1 will get cancelled, 2, 4, 6, all of them will result to 0. So our final answer will be 0 XOR 3 XOR 5, which will be 3 XOR 5. So we will have the answer of 3 XOR 5. But we don't know which are the exact numbers that are missing. We just know the XOR of those two values, right? How can we find the exact two values? Let's see how. So we got the value of 3 XOR 5, which was 110. 3 is 11 and 5 is 101, and the XOR result is 110. Now what we are going to do is use our first property, which is only when both the numbers are distinct, the XOR is 1. So let's see in this case. Here the second bits from right were different. That is why the resultant was 1. Similarly, the third bit was again different, 0 and 1, and that is why the number was 1. So what we do is, we pick up one place where the bits are different for the numbers. That is, we find the first one that comes in the resultant. Since these two numbers are going to be different, again, since two different numbers are missing from the array, so the resultant will never be 0. So there will be at least one bit in the XOR value which will be 1. So we find the first bit that is set. That is, we go from right and we find the first bit which is set, and we divide the entire array into two parts. One part will have all the numbers which have bits at the second place as set, and the other part will be all the numbers which have the bit as unset. Let's see how. So I have written all the numbers from 1 to 6 over here. As we can see, the numbers 2, 3, 6 have the second bit as set, but the numbers 1, 4 and 5 don't have them as set. So what we are going to do is, we are going to XOR all the numbers which have the bits as set first. Let's see how. So over here, which are the numbers that have it as set? So that are numbers 2 and 6. So we XOR 2 and 6, and from here 2, 3 and 6. When we XOR this, again 2 will result to 0, 6 will result to 0, and we will end up getting the number 3. Now if we XOR all the numbers that were unset, so from this array, which were the numbers that were unset at that place, that is 1 and 4. So we XOR 1 and 4 with all the numbers from the original array which will have the second bit as unset. That will be 1, 4 and 5. So when we XOR them again, the answer will be 5. So yes, we have found our final answers that are 3 and 5. What we did finally was, we divided the array into two sub-arrays. according to one bit that was set or not set. Then similar to the previous case, we XOR the items given to us in the array to the numbers that would have been present in the array. And then we got our final answers. I hope you found these questions interesting. This is a very good place to get started with XOR or bit manipulation. Please leave your comments below and please do like, share and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you.